be looking to either pass or not pass. Otherwise, it should be pretty straightforward. Um, awesome. Let me see who is all in the meeting so far. Perfect.
Quickly, who is GESMN? Goodwill Easter Seals? Ah, there. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. Do we have all the people that is still logged on? Is cool. Got it. Sorry, y'all. Just trying to make sure everyone that's trying to get in can get in. Um, I guess at this point, I'd like to call to order this meeting of General Council on June 15th, 2025. And we can jump into reports. Um, so again, I'd like to welcome new and recurring members. I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day, especially on a holiday, to make time for tribal matters. I think it's important that we're all here, or as many of us that can be here are here to make sure that we are doing this as a collective and as a community, and not just, a handful of people making decisions, right? Um, with that, I'll go into a report on the state of the tribe. We currently getting ready for the powwow. Our vice chair, Carol Labine, will be talking more on that. We have collected a handful of our grants, one of which covering the WASIPI, one of which we will be hopefully using for a computer lab. Um, besides that, let me pull up. That's honestly all that there is. I would say most of the stuff we do in tribal council, you guys can see, they're on minutes. We share the videos to those, and a lot of it has just been getting our house in order. So we are able to move forward, going towards federal rec and um, acquiring land. With that, I will turn it over to Vice Chair Carol Labine for the report on the WASIPI.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I am up at a cabin with pretty good reception, but I'll probably put my video down, or if I'm having troubles, we'll turn my video off. But nice to see everybody, and truly an honor to be able to be here and serving our community. So I've sent some emails out. I've been getting some interest around volunteers around the WASIPI this fall, but we'll be in the next week or two. I'm trying to get a Zoom out and hopefully have a time and space where we will also have the our office open so people could come in person if they want to and talk more about what's needed moving forward. We don't have that much time, but do want to say with the planning, there's been a couple of us that have come together to just try to get some structure and some organization to it that I just want to emphasize that we're not looking at this year as being a fundraiser year. This is a building year. We have a grant that Dakota already pointed out that we've received. So we are able to hold this event with the grant. So looking at minimal to no fundraising at this point this year and looking at this as a way to really re-engage and engage with our community and wanting to do more cultural events and having more of an agenda so people can plan that we'll have a language class or a class on just even understanding more about the WashUP and having more member focused activities well and having that more scheduled. So those are the sort of the things that we'd like to get that volunteer committee to be more involved with. But wanting to set the expectation, this is a building year. We're going to look for a lot of outside food vendors and food. So there is a little different focus, I think, than in past years that want to just set the expectation there. But definitely want to encourage people to give what time they can. Look for some emails coming up with some opportunities to join by Zoom to talk more about the WashUP planning for the short term as we are building this year and creating that base budget, base structure to be able to grow from. So thank you in advance, and that's all that I got.
Perfect. Thank you, Carol. We are gonna go to Danielle and Greg Stanmark on the update on the federal rec petition.
So if Greg's okay, I'll start. I have, in the last months, we've gone through and updated the federal recognition petition to just bring us up to date with where we currently are in the history of the tribe, I guess you could say. We've also gone through and processed about 45 applications for membership that were sent in between May 1st and June 1st. So our current tribal membership is 379 adults, and we have about 126 children on the children's roll. So our plan of action at this point is to move ahead with submitting our federal recognition petition on July 1st, sort of our drop dead date. We have engaged the support of Tom Casey, an attorney who has worked with us in the past, to be our point of contact for now with the Office of Federal Acknowledgement. But we hope moving forward to do research on and eventually hire a lawyer that is more specialized in federal recognition so that we have, proper informed representation as we move forward with the case. We realize that's going to be expensive, which is why also we're going through looking at what our options are and mapping out how much that will cost. So I think, Greg, if you'd like to give just a thumbnail sketch of what happens after we box all this up and send it to the OFA.
Yeah, once we get it signed by all the tribal council and we submit it, and we got to get it submitted along with all the consent forms of our tribal members, because that's one of those things they dinged us on our TA letter in the last time. We don't want to get that again. But when we send it in, they will send us a letter of receipt and notification. And then I think we have about 60 days before they will respond back with another TA letter of some obvious deficiencies. And then at that point, we have no technically expected time to reply to that. That is the time when we probably, if there's certain things within the petition that we need a specialist that would be the time we will probably have to hire specialists in recognition. You know, we have had one in the past, and we may talk to her again once we're at that state. But at that state, like I says, it can sit forever. I guess maybe until Congress decides to change the laws again, but it could sit there until then. But we're not going to just sit on it. We will try to reply to whatever the obvious deficiencies are. Obviously, the last time the consent form was one that was on the list. It's like you didn't know that, okay, you had these people who signed the application and everything for a membership, but they still wanted a separate consent form. So that was the reason for the consent forms. Beyond that, I won't go into the greater detail of getting through and getting to the point where we're on active consideration. And at that point, it takes about anywhere from 6 months to a year for them to come back with kind of an answer, you know, once you've replied to that TA letter. At that point, you got specific timelines to try to reply to them for certain things. Although there are some tribes that are out there, is if you go through some of the recognition tribes, the petitions that have gone, that are out there on the site that you can read, you'll find some have been on there for decades. So it's not like, even if you get to a point, at that point, sometimes it can drag on. You maybe, what they do is call, you withdraw the petition, you know, for redoing something and then resubmit, you know, that keeps it being able to keep going. So, like I says, it's kind of a long process after that, but the big step is getting that narrative done, get the petition in, get us in the pecking order that's already there. There's probably like 7 tribes out there right now on the active consideration list. And that's about what I got right now.
I will add as well, we've been working with Jay Titus, who works for Microsoft and is also on their Indigenous community sort of organization. And he has contacts through that organization with people who are in tribes that have successfully completed the recognition process. So, and some of those people have been, you know, he's talked with them, and they're willing to also meet with us and talk about their experiences in federal rec and who they worked with and some of the different challenges they came up against. So we will be meeting with them in the coming months as we're beginning this process. So if anyone has any questions about that before
Yes, I do. This is Fran Felix. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'd be interested in reading the petition that went in. And is there a website or something that it's on?
So we are currently in the process of, a couple of us of going through and editing and doing last changes on it. Once those are done, we will make it available to the community at large to read.
Great. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Tracy is in now. Oh, wait, Tim
Gotcha.
has a question.
Tim Johnson. You're on mute, Tim.
Danielle, do you have a time frame on these amendments that you're making right now to the petition?
The amendments are finished. We're working on really just making sure terms are correct, making sure there's no errors in it. So we're still on schedule to submit on July 1st.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. We will now go to Tracy, who is our treasurer.
Hi guys. Sorry I'm late. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. You just need to, you just need to know what,
Yeah, basic treasurer update.
okay.
If you want, I have the accounts pulled up. I can read that off quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool. Fiscal sponsored checking account, we have $42.41. In our Royal Advantage Plus checking, we have $229,230.07. And the business savings account, we have 4,400 or $44,790.53. In our grant writing account, we have $32,770.47. And then in our investments account, which is our CD, we have $215,774.44. All right. I guess the rest, grant updates, things like that.
We did, we deposited the 2 grants last week. Sorry, I'm bringing it up right now too. I know Carol, Kraft and we met on Friday at the office. I took I do have in my possession all of the checkbooks now. As far as I know right now with the grants,
Hmm.
I'm pulling everything up right now. Sorry. I'm scrambling. And you deposited the one check. Carol deposited the other check. And I think that's where we're at right now with grants.
Hmm.
I know we're talking about we're looking for the grant writer.
Yep.
That's about it that I am aware of.
Gotcha. I would say the only thing that I have to add is I finally got my debit card.
I did too.
Awesome. So now that we both have debit cards for the tribe, we can transfer over, say, the website from Brad, which Brad, thank you for paying for the website for most of these years. Out of pocket from a member that is above and beyond. We can reimburse, we can start doing our reimbursements. Um,
I'm taking over Zoom from
yes,
Danielle.
Zoom, our ancestry.com, which my goal for that would be going forward, we should be able to print out or at least send each person's ancestry chunk to see, where it goes, how it goes, and then also how we're all interconnected as relatives. Um, but yeah, I think that's it. That's all I have for the finances. Trace,
And
do
I
you have
think,
anything else? Oh,
just if I can cut in a second, I think our goal with the ancestry account, obviously, first and foremost, right now, it's for the federal rec case. But in the
yes.
long term, if it could be accessed from the office, right?
Yes.
And that would be part of the research library that we're building, that people can come look at their family history, use the other resources we have at the office.
Absolutely.
Tim?
Yes, do you have to get individual permission before you send our information to ancestry.com?
You're already on my personal account. That's where I had to do all of the genealogical work for the FedRec case. So the goal right now is to try to move that over. Because one of the things we had to submit as part of the FedRec case was a complete genealogy tree of the entire tribe.
Okay.
So that's why we ended up doing that in the first place. So that we had to fill out all those little forms by hand, which are the old VIA forms. But then on the Office of Federal Acknowledgement end, they ask for the full GEDCOM file that we could do on Family Search or Ancestry or somewhere else, then download it. Then they will upload it into something they're using over there and have their genealogist looking at it. So, yeah, if that helps. I think this is something we can talk about with the community in terms of access outside of that. What would access do individual members want, things to have, and if people don't want to be included in the database that would be accessible anywhere beyond the enrollment office, we can talk about that.
Thank you.
By the way, this is why the consent form, because you're consenting to have your birth certificate sent in, you're consenting to have all your genealogical data sent in to the Office of Federal Acknowledgement. Pat?
Patrick Leclerc.
Yeah, good afternoon. Danielle, if we already have a tree established with most of the family members listed, will you want a copy of that?
Yeah, sure. And this is again where I think like having the tribal account would be useful because like if somebody has something they would like to contribute, or if they want to request coming the other way, like I need my family tree for something, that can go through the tribe instead of going through an individual tribal member, because that feels weird at the moment. I feel slightly creepy having everybody else's genealogies on my computer.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, and we would do that going forward. If you have things from your family you would like to make accessible to other tribal members, whether in copies or emails, please feel free to let us know. We're trying to build up sort of a base of information that we can collectively use.
Yeah, all the way through Leclerc to the Robinette, and that area there, and Octavia, whatnot.
Yes, that would be really useful.
This is Tim Johnson again. Missing aunts, uncles, cousins, and grandcousins. People that we've not contacted yet on our family line. There's probably 100 of them floating out there that that we've not contacted. So, yeah, I don't even have the names of the second, third cousins.
So I've built some of that out. So if you're ever curious,
those would probably be us, because I know Bob Brown was second cousin 3 times removed. I know we got, I don't want to say everybody, we got a whole bunch of them on Family Tree Maker. And Family Tree Maker, which is owned by Ancestry.com, wants me to upload it every time we open it. We haven't done that yet. There's probably close to, I want to say close to about 5,000 names in there. So I can't guarantee you're in there, Tim, but there's a whole bunch of them,
It's tied 1-1.
Yeah, I'm only 3 generations away from great grandpa Labatt, and my dad had numerous brothers and sisters that have never been contacted. So that leaves all the cousins. And anyways, just asking.
Well, I don't worry about them right now as far as getting on the federal recognition. Okay, once if and when we do get federal recognized, they just have to do their application at that time, because we got to open the rolls anyway. So that's going to be part of the process.
Yeah. So.
All right. If that's all we have, I would like to move on to old business. I'm sure we all have things to do today. Not that not all of this is important, but it is Father's Day, and I would like to go see my dad at some point. If that's okay with everybody. For old business, all we have is tribal ID cards. In the discussion of tribal ID cards, we already have one up. Dean Johnson, you have a question. What's up?
Wasn't anything big, and it wasn't related to this, but being he's brought up that it's Father's Day, how do you say Happy Father's Day in Dakota?
So, I mean, Blaze, if you're on this call, you might be better than me, but I know Thumpi Ampetu Washte would be happy birthday, Thumpi being birth, Ampetu being day, and Washte is happy. So I would guess it would be Ate Ampetu Washte, because Ate is father. Now, don't quote me on that
Okay.
100%.
All right. So, yes, that's what I would have guessed too.
Yeah, that's
Sweet.
pretty close to what I'm thinking too.
Well
Awesome.
done.
Thanks, y'all. I needed that validation right there. But yes, that is how you that's how I would guess to say it would be Ate Ampetu Washte.
And that would be Ate for father, Antu Wate is day, and Washte is happy.
Correct. Cool. All right. Tribal IDs. So if we're discussing tribal IDs, we have a handful of members that don't currently have them that have paid. I would really appreciate if anyone that knows that they paid and does not currently have a membership, email me. Email me at the chair@mendotadakota.com. We need to compile a list on how to get all of your guys' tribal IDs set up. Second part of it would be that in the new business, we'll be voting on whether or not we purchase a new ID card machine for the office. I guess we can discuss that once we get into new business, but I guess the concept of that basically would be if we have it in the office, we don't have to worry about sending it to a third-party website and doing all the jumps, right? We could just start doing it right now.
This is Fran Felix. I would, I think I paid, didn't get an ID card, but I would certainly wait. And I wonder if most people wouldn't just wait until the new machine is there. So I don't know if
Gotcha.
you could just ask people if they want to.
I think that's kind of the concept and game plan is that like hopefully everyone would wait. I mean, I have what in theory we would purchase pulled up on my computer as we are speaking. It would
Oh,
take maybe 2 weeks for it to come in,
yeah.
which if I had to guess would probably be roughly the same time it would take for us to do all the steps to get the old cards made anyways through the process that we were using.
I do have one more question. On the
Yeah,
old cards, the social security number was included on the card, which I think is a horrible thing. And I guess,
absolutely.
have they been taken off then?
We can do that. With the new machine, we can choose what it would look like, right? Besides having your security on there, like there was another member that mentioned we should be putting birth dates on there. So it works as a
Birth dates are
functional
fine.
ID.
Birth dates are fine, but I don't
Yep.
want my social
I
security number there.
I would also not want my social security on there. So
Okay,
that is something we could probably take off.
thank you.
Yeah. Does anyone have any other comment, question on this before we start moving into new businesses and the voting aspect of this meeting? All right, 1, 2, 3. Sweet. We'll roll over into new business. All right. In new business, first item in new business is approving the creation of non-elected positions of public affairs officer and ceremony coordinator. Danielle, would you like to give a little bit of a description on these things, as well as explaining what, I guess, powers and non-powers these positions have?
Okay, so these are essentially positions that we're not even really creating new positions at this point. We are formalizing roles that people have already had within the community, but defining what those roles are, getting them official tribal emails, and also defining how these people are brought, into their position, how they potentially leave their position. So the public affairs officer would essentially be a kind of PR officer that would really spearhead our communications with other organizations, both native and non-native. They'll also be involved in kind of monitoring our public presentation of Dakota language and culture so that we are not putting things out there in public that would be, demeaning to ourselves or our Dakota relatives. The ceremony coordinator is going to be someone who is really the person you reach out to if you're trying to go to a NEPI or if you need another ceremony performed and you don't know, off the top of your head, someone that you can reach out to. He will help put you in contact with someone. He's also he or she would be in charge of managing the NEPI that is currently behind the Dupuy House, and also probably offering some educational courses and things about Dakota spirituality and ceremony. So in this case, like Dwayne Leith is already doing this job, so Dwayne Leith will keep doing this position. Just now he has an email, so you can contact him when you have questions. The public affairs officer will be likely be Jeff Isaacson. He's already started performing those duties over the past couple of months. And so these are positions that would be appointed by the tribal council, and they don't have voting power in tribal council. They're not elected officials, and they would serve at the will of tribal council. So if there was a reason why somebody needed to be removed, they're not doing their job, something of that nature, they don't want to do their job and they decide they want to resign, it would be on tribal council to replace that individual in that position.
Renee Johnson.
This is Fran Felix. I make a motion that both of these positions be approved in the same vote.
Renee?
Thank you. The only issue I have with it is the title of Public Affairs Officer. That kind of implies that they're a member of the tribal council, even though they're not. I'm thinking maybe it would be a good idea to change that to director rather than officer. It would be a lot less misleading for those people in the public who would be dealing with that individual. And I think we should do the same thing for the ceremony coordinator at those high level positions, maybe call them directors rather than a coordinator or an officer. That's all.
So Dakota, we can amend that to the resolutions. If that's
Yeah, that sounds great. So amendment to the approving of the creation of non-elected positions of public affairs officer and ceremony coordinator would be changing the titles to public affairs director and ceremony director. Actually, on that same note, I would like to put an amends on the ceremony director to be just a cultural director. Because Dwayne's job, or like the job that Dwayne does fall outside of just ceremony, right? And I would hope that the person that upholds this position does more things than just ceremony, though ceremony is a large part of our culture and kind of intertwined into our culture as a whole. Ceremony in and of itself is not inherently the Dakota culture and how we would work it inside, a tribe. Anyone has any comment on that? I would love to hear it.
I think that's a really, really important distinction, Dakota. I think cultural director is a little broader than ceremony, or quite a bit broader. And yes, I think that's a good idea.
Padame, friend.
Also,
Renee?
Yeah, Renee and then James.
I was gonna actually second that. I think that renaming that to cultural director is a really good idea, and it leaves it open to expand those responsibilities in the future if we need to. I would definitely make a motion to accept those resolutions as modified.
Awesome. James?
Yeah, just a quick, I think it's a great idea, only for coordination. I think you start with directors, it can go to coordinators, a second level, assistant direct, you've got a formal line of who's doing what in all those different areas, whether it's program director or language director or whatever. But it's a way of it. In the future, as you grow, you can expand and drop down to those other levels. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Using terminology to have a way to create a chain of command, I guess, would be the verbalization that I would use from, my experience. I also agree that starting with director and being able to create space to move down from there would be beneficial for us in the long run. So I would like to put a motion forward, if I can remember all the different steps, to approve the creation of the non-elected positions that have been amended to be Public Affairs Director and the Cultural Director. Can I get a second? Or do I have a second?
Dakota,
Yes.
it's Pat Leclerc. I think what you need to do is vote on the original and then vote on the amendment.
Perfect. That sounds right. Renee, Jim, you guys are very well versed in our resolutions and constitution.
I think you have to vote on the amendment
First, and then we okay. Oh,
And then it as a whole resolution.
Well, Tim has a hand up.
Tim Johnson, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's close. I think if we had the book and we opened the book up, the resolutions would have to be a motion to accept, a second, and then you have your discussion, then you have a motion to amend, a second, and then a vote on the whole thing. So I think that's really the order of events.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so let's do that step by step. First, I am putting forward a motion to approve the creation of the non-elected positions of Public Affairs Officer and Ceremony Coordinator. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Awesome. All in favor? Oh,
No, not until now you have a discussion.
okay.
The amendment
Now,
is-
perfect. Open discussion, all the things that we said prior to changing Public Affairs Officer to Public Affairs Director, changing Ceremony Coordinator to Cultural Director. Do those amendments sound good to everyone? And I am putting that forward to amend this the first part. Do I have a second on that?
Yes, this is Fran. I'll second it.
Perfect. Dean Johnson, you have your hand up.
I was just seconding.
Oh, perfect. Awesome. All right. So now we can Pat Leclerc, you have your hand up as well.
Sorry, Dakota.
No, you're golden.
You're mixing two amendments together there. You need to do one and then do the other.
Gotcha.
You're doing 25 and then you're also talking
25 and 26.
26. Yeah. You got to do one, then you do the other.
Sorry, y'all. It's on our watermark is right behind it, and I couldn't see the and. I just thought it was a really long number. Okay. So, resolution 25 is Public Affairs Officer. I put that forward. We are going to discuss to amend Public Affairs Officer to Public Affairs Director. Do I have a second on it?
Second.
Perfect. All right. Are we good to put a vote up on that one?
Next words are, is there any other discussion? Not hearing any? Please.
Awesome. Yeah, No other discussion, no other comments going forward, correct?
No.
Perfect. Then I would like to put it up to a vote with the amendment. Oh, Pat Leclerc.
But tonight.
I'm sorry, Dakota. That's my vote.
Oh, that's your
Oh.
vote. Hang on. I can get the poll up. My bad. I did fix there we go. Watch here. It's maybe the wrong one. Okay.
I haven't done that either for a long time.
Coffee time.
Right.
Cookbooks are up above the.
So it looks like unanimous on 25
Awesome.
and poll.
All right. Now going into resolution 26, approving the creation of the non-elected position of ceremony coordinator. I'd like to put this up to discussion. I would like to state that instead of ceremony coordinator, we amend it to cultural director. Does anyone have any thoughts, comments, concerns?
I'm back up to 7 people, but now we got 5.
I don't believe so, unless I don't see anyone with their hand up. And it looks like we're good. Okay. I would like to put forward that I'd like to put the motion forward that we approve the creation of the non-elected position of ceremony coordinator, which has been amended to be cultural director. Do I have a second?
We don't have to.
Second.
Awesome. Thank you. Danielle, can you set up the vote? Thank you.
It's unanimous.
Perfect. Okay, y'all. Next one. Authorizing the creation of the Constitution Committee, Resolution 27. I'd like to put this forward for discussion.
So just to
Does
add in
any-
here, the purpose of this would be to create a committee to update and clean up the Constitution and bylaws. If we have volunteers at this meeting who would like to be part of this committee also, please, get your names out there.
And can
Renee?
Well, I just wanted to add,
I'm
one
sorry.
of the things, like, to give you an idea what the Constitution Committee will do is my position, which is on the tribal council, is for the historian, and we've kind of decided that historian should be a person that works at the will of the tribal council and not on the council itself. Most aren't, so we like to create that new position to be a member at large, to allow people from a distance to be able to be on the tribal council. That would be one of the changes that would be submitted.
Perfect. Renee, are you putting your hand forward to be part of this new position, or because you have comment?
I will volunteer to chair that committee.
Love
Being
that.
I've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes lately on revising it anyhow.
Yes, you have.
But
And
we definitely
appreciate
would-
you.
We definitely would like a few other people involved in the committee. We'd like to get more feedback, particularly anyone who's got a kind of a background on data sovereignty, because I think that's a section that we need to add in somewhere along the way, and that is way out of my bailiwick. So, yeah, are we going to be able to set up an email for the Constitution Committee?
Yes, we can.
Yes? Okay, then if we could get that out there, and then people could get that information to me too, and we'll get some people together and start going over this.
This is Fran Felix. I would be interested in being on the committee. I would hope that if we, I mean, do a lot of the discussions back and forth by email, but that if we have meetings, that they be by Zoom.
hmm
Absolutely.
So I would volunteer then for that.
Awesome. If that is all the discussion we have and there's no comments or concerns, I would like, oop,
Sorry, I don't know how to put the hand up.
you're perfect. Go ahead, Jeff.
No, just I would volunteer on that same committee.
Love this. Perfect. All right. Well, we have 3 volunteers and it sounds like no one has any issues with it. So I would like to put forward authorizing the creation of the Constitution Committee. Can I get a second?
I second.
Perfect. Thank you, Dean. All right. And thank you, Danielle, for being so quick.
I do have one quick question.
Yes.
The resolution, it lists the Constitution and Bylaws Committee. Are we going to call it the Constitutional Committee or the Constitution and Bylaws Committee? I'm fine with Constitution Committee.
I'm fine with it. And indeed, like my intention when I was writing this was also that this could be a committee that can stay in effect to be, you know, as you're doing policies, right, and procedures, that they can be in charge of making sure all of that lines up with the current laws within the organization.
I think that's fine.
Perfect.
Tim?
This is Carol. A comment on that. So would it be the Constitution Committee or Governance Committee?
That's a good question. That's a really good question.
I don't like the name Governance Committee.
And Carol can put forth an amendment to this once it's seconded to change the name.
Second.
Cool. All right. So, then I guess Danielle, should I just X out of the poll quiz thing?
Yeah, I just went back and I'll just put it up again in a minute.
Okay.
So you can unlaunch it. Hang on.
So so now we're in discussion. So I would
Yes.
recommend that we change the Constitution Committee to the Governance Committee.
Perfect.
That would
Because
encompass the bylaws and any relative policies that would be overarching over the community.
And
absolutely.
I second that.
Perfect. All right. Now that we have that seconded, I would like to put forward the authorization of the Constitution Committee with the amendment that we are changing the title to the Governance Committee, because it encompasses a larger amount of can't think of the word.
Governance.
Thank you. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, larger amount of governance. Can I get a second on that?
Second.
Second.
Perfect. We can put the vote forward whenever.
Just clearing it. We'll do it again. There we go.
Awesome.
Were you going to change the name on that, Danielle?
Yes, it'll change the Governance Committee. The amended. Oh, I should change that. Sorry. Yes, I'll get that changed in the minutes. I'm sorry. Didn't get that changed. But it's down as Governance Committee.
No, I X'd mine out, but I vote yes.
Okay.
That's Renee.
All right. So let's go the anonymous for the Governance Committee. All right. Let's go on to Dakota, next one.
Perfect. All right. The next article of new business is the approving the funding of Dakota language program for fall of 2025 and the spring of 2026, resolution 28. I'd like to open this up for discussion.
So just to some background to this, we will be able to use some of the funding from the the Bigelow, I believe it was, which was unrestricted funding. So we already
Correct.
have the money to begin this. And indeed, we have enough money from that we could fund through to the second semester as well. But we're voting right now on the first semester. And we will be bringing in Joe Bendixson, who is a member of this tribal community, but is also a trained Dakota language teacher. He's taught at U of M, University of Minnesota, and he's also taught for some of the Dakota tribes in the Sisseton, as well as I
Yes.
want to say a Shakopee. I can't remember. Definitely it's Sisseton.
Assistant, maybe Upper Sioux.
Upper Sioux, yeah. So that's who the reason why the price tag is what it is this is essentially the price that would be, this is a salary he would be receiving for teaching at the University of Minnesota. And that's pretty much who we're competing with for language teachers at this point are, you know, the local universities. So this is the price of what one course would cost.
Awesome. Anyone else have any comment, questions?
If you get the motion up, then I have some questions. But the proper time to talk about that is get the motion on the floor.
So put the motion on the floor, Dakota.
All right.
Motion?
I'm putting motion forward that we approve the funding of the Dakota Language Program for fall 2025 and spring 2026, resolution 28. Do I get a second?
You get a second, but I think I only have it there for fall 2025 in the resolution.
Okay.
So did you second that,
I
Danielle?
second it. Yes, I second.
So Dakota calling for comments.
Yes.
Okay. And my comments are really very short. I'm a member of the Finance Committee, and hopefully in the future, we will actually have these grants into where they need to be restricted funds set aside in a proper balance sheet and profit and loss. So for everyone that's voting on this, right now, these funds will just come out of the checking account because that's all the only place we have to hold money. The intent of the Finance Committee, or at least Tim Johnson, under Tracy's leadership, is to expand the balance sheet profit and loss so that we're actually properly documenting things. So in the future, we would be voting to take money away from or use money that's in a grant to fund the language going forward. But at this point in time, it is what it is. The money will come out of the checking account. We may move some money around. Again, Tracy and I have not talked about this, but get the money into a restricted area. I see Carol's hand up, so I probably should quiet down because she's my boss.
Not really. Actually, the funds for this comes from the Bigelow grant, and the Bigelow grant specified that this was a general purpose fund, and so it is not restricted to one thing or another. It was identified as unrestricted general purpose.
Thank you for fixing
All of
me.
that is really helpful. This is Fran Felix again. It's really helpful to know, but I know that the getting all those accounts in order is taking time, and this language course I think is by far the most important thing that you could be doing with this money for the future of the tribe and for maintaining the culture of the tribe. So thank you.
I do want to make a comment as well that we will be there's a contract that is being signed between us and the language teacher, and W-9's being filled out and everything. So there will be a document trail going forward as to how this money was used. All taxes will be paid properly where they should be.
Let me know that it'll be a Zoom too.
Yes, and okay, so the structure of this is that there will be 20 seats in the first cohort. Of those, 12 seats are reserved for our members, and 8 seats will be open enrollment for other Dakota people in the Twin Cities area, because Joe also works with the Dakota Language Nonprofit, and we're sort of partnering with them for curricular materials and things like that. for any of you who might want to be interested in this or have relatives that might be interested, this is a 4-year commitment. This is 4 days a week, 1 hour a day over 8 semesters. So, and the expectation is if you commit to this course that you will be committing to 4 years, and then you will be committing to coming back into the community and using that language knowledge either to teach others or to be doing something else to build language use within the community. So we will be
Correct.
sending out an email announcement as well as an application for those who are interested, but part of the application will be like, why do you want to take this? And then what do you intend to do with the language knowledge once you have it back in the community? Yes, you don't have to live in Minnesota, Selena. You can live outside of Minnesota because this will be offered on Zoom. Tim.
So we had eight people out of the 20 will not be tribal members. What is their commitment to, after we paid for this language class for them for 4 years, what is their commitment to our membership?
So their commitment to our membership, this serves 2 purposes. First of all, we might go over the 12 people, right? If we find that, we have, say, 25
16.
applicants and, most of those are, 2 of those are outside and the rest of them are in our community, then part of that other 8 will be from our community. But the other purpose of this is really a relations building exercise. We need to be in good relations with our other Dakota communities in this area, as well as with the urban Indian community. So it will be the same thing in judging their applications, like what are you going to do? And afterwards, and that might be, you're going to come back and help out in our community, right? Even though you're Prairie Island. But that could also be that you're going to go back and teach language at Prairie Island, and we need to sort of devise some method of tracking that. But one thing that's going to be really important for FedRAC is rebuilding our relations with the other communities. And so this is one way we can do that.
Be more speakers in a immersion camp, type thing for Chuck.
Paul Leclerc or Patrick Leclerc, sorry.
Yeah, thanks, Dakota. This resolution is strictly deciding a fund for the language course. Before a contract is made with the instructor, are you going to have a send out email or find out exactly how many students are going to be applying for this?
We've already spoken with the instructor at length. He said 20 is all he will take on in one course. And so it's a 20-seat course. And again, we really want to stress it's like this is not, we will be holding some more informal courses if you just want to learn how to say hello, good day, and introduce yourself. This is for people that really want to become functional in the language and then bring that knowledge back for the community. And the hope is like maybe 2 years out, we could start a second cohort, right? And begin to build this out.
Dean Johnson. Oh, Dean, you're on mute.
Unmute. Hang on, let me try to ask him to unmute. There we go.
There we go. Thank you. Maybe I'd missed it, but how much is this going to end up costing the community? I didn't hear an amount.
Per semester, it will be 10,000.
Okay.
We're using the office. The supplies will be things that the teacher can provide.
Mm-hmm.
There may be a commitment from the students of $40 for a textbook, possibly, if he decides to use that textbook. But he has a lot of materials he's already developed that he can just send to the students via email.
The other question I had, and that doesn't need an answer immediately, just a bug in the ear. If someone commits to this and has to back out of it for some reason or another, or just quit showing up, how is the community going to handle that?
If you're out, you're out. And we're anticipating, I mean, this is the pilot year of this. Dakota language is a difficult language. We're anticipating that we'll have some attrition, and that sort of, it goes with the territory. So that's why we're that's where we're going to do the application process. And we really want people to consider, like, what's your plan, right? Do you
Mhm.
have 4 hours a week to commit in class, plus at least probably 8 hours outside of class doing homework and preparing? Renee?
Renee Johnson.
Just a quick question. The resolution is for 1 year, correct? Are we going to have a second resolution for another year, or are we going to modify this one for 2 years?
The resolution is for the first semester.
First semester.
Yes.
Okay.
So we will
Actually,
have
Danielle, the way
yeah.
it's written,
Is it two?
at least in our agenda, the way it's written is that it is for fall 2025 and spring of 2026.
So for 1 year, yeah. We will return, because the other question here is with longer term funding, is we're going to be applying for grant funding to carry this on further. But we would like to get this going now. So right now we're voting on funding it for the first year.
Thank you.
And
is there any way for us old people to audit it?
So we've talked about this with Joe, right? Is actually
Yes.
recording the classes and having the classes posted to our tribe's YouTube page so
Yes.
that you can follow through the classes on YouTube if you are not involved in the class, but you're not being graded. So that option will be there.
Another concept that has been discussed is, and this is something I would like to discuss with Shishoka and each person that is signing up, would be having, say, one language table a week that is help hosted by people from this class. So not only are they learning specifically in this class how to be a fluent Dakota speaker, but they're also utilizing those skills to help pass on to the rest of us, to where we don't necessarily need to be fluent, but having a place to speak once a week changes how much Dakota you actually utilize in your day-to-day life. James, I believe or Jim, sorry, your thing says James, and I know your name's Jim. You're on mute.
Mm-hmm.
No, I would just agreeing with you. I think that's a great idea.
Awesome. So does anyone have anything else that they would like to state before we go any further on this? Tim Johnson, go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to hear from Timothy Richard Johnson, who learned a foreign language very fluently. On having now heard this discussion, what his thoughts are.
Cousin Tim.
He's not coming through. Tim, you're like speaker isn't on or something. That's weird.
Well, it's a good idea, but it's not working.
Yeah. That's on his end. Let's see.
Question for everyone, real quick. Will there be an age restriction on the Dakota language program?
So, per the wishes of the instructor, there will be a minimum age requirement. At this
Okay.
point, we will not be taking people under 18 because of maturity issues and commitment issues, sometimes in teenagers. But there's no upper age limit.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Tim? Tim A. Johnson, your hand's still up. So I think he put something over in the text there. Yeah, so over in the text, Tim Jr. wrote, sorry, learning instructor speaking with fellow students and is the best way of learning, in my opinion. Um, I've taught non-Indo-European indigenous languages as well, and it's the first year is the hard year. Is people get excited, they come in, and then they learn the first part, and then they kind of get like whacked upside the head as they get to the grammar or the more complicated parts of the language. So really running the first year and seeing who is ready to move on to the second, that'll be an important moment for us in terms of thinking of how effective this has been. Because
Hey,
you have a
Danielle,
lot of
can you hear
attrition
me?
from first to second year.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. My daughter's the computer girl, and I got 18 microphones and headsets and all kinds of stuff around here. So sorry about that. Yeah. If you can't do the way I look at it is, in the way that I've learned, Chinese was in person, in class, 8 hours a day with a native speaker and the students around. And you had your books, you had your documentation, but you were forced to speak the language, learn the language, study. And that's how I've learned. I've tried other ways, the online stuff, and I can't learn a language that way. So I feel that if you have a knowledgeable instructor who can, um, you know, teach you, you sit there, you speak with other students, you're learning it, you're listening. That's the best way to learn a language. And I think that, I'm seriously considering it. A 4-year commitment to me, that's not a tough thing at all. If it's an hour a day, you got some studies, with what you guys are saying, opportunities for others to either get on YouTube or listen into the class. And then say, for instance, my children, and we can practice together, speak together, learn together, and move forward. I think that's great. My thing, and I can talk offline later on with Danielle, Dakota, whoever, on the commitment wise for those of us that are out of the area, because 4 years down the line, and obviously, we can invest in it sooner, and maybe a year or so, we can come up there and give a couple weeks or a week or so here and there and help in whatever way we can with the community. But I think this is a great idea. And I think this is one of the best ways to do it, where there's actual interaction, not just an app or, some software talking to you, listening to how you're speaking and everything like that. You can get direct feedback from an instructor, right? Or from another native speaker that might be attending. And so I give it 2 thumbs up. Sorry for the technological stuff there. So that's my input.
Whoop it up, cousin.
Final thing I'll add is that this is really for us the ground level step to moving up to eventually being able to start a language nest daycare for our kids. And eventually we would like to be able to start a Dakota Medium Charter School, right? So especially if you're in education, you have a relative in the tribe who's in early childhood education or anything that would be a skill that would be useful to that, like do point them toward this class. Because the first stage is just building up people that are competent in the language.
All right. I'm going to do one last call for conversation on this before I put it forward to a vote. Does anyone have any thoughts, comments, concerns, questions? It doesn't sound like it. Awesome. So I would like to put forward approving the funding of the Dakota Language Program for fall 2025 and spring 2026, Resolution 28. Do I have a second?
Second.
Awesome. All right.
Okay, all right, that's unanimous.
Perfect.
And okay.
All right. Now let's move to the last one. The last thing we have is the approving the purchase of a new ID card machine for the office, Resolution 29. Does anyone have any comments?
You gotta put it on the table first to go to.
Oh,
Put it
okay.
out there first, or on the floor.
I put it on the floor. Put it
Second.
forward. Second. Awesome. Does anyone have any comments, questions, concerns? Tim Johnson.
You know it would be Tim Johnson. I've got a couple thoughts on this I want to express. One is, so we're going to spend $1,500, and I'm just going to throw out a number, $1,500 for a card printer and supplies. Right now, if things worked right, it costs the tribe nothing to print it, to get a membership card. So, you know, we're going to spend some money, and I have not heard how the whole process is going to work. We don't have an office staff to run the machine, and so please explain how this is going to function for people to send stuff to, I guess, to the office, and then Carol picks it up. Carol prints it. I mean, who's going to run the printer? Because we don't have an office staff. So explain that, and I'll go away.
So first off, I'm in the office about 4 days a week. I stop at the office roughly 4 days out of my week.
It's at least 1 day a week for a full day also.
Along with Tracy, Carol Kraft also stops in the office, and so does Carol Labine. God. Though that would be the first steps of people being there. Secondarily, this one is mobile. So our first concept is we're bringing this to the powwow. So anyone that comes to the powwow, we could make your ID card on the spot. Everyone that can't make it at the powwow sequentially, we can then take steps to move forward of getting their information to make them. Renee Johnson and then Dean Johnson in that order. Go ahead.
Just a quick question, and that is, I wasn't involved when they started doing these ID cards and stuff, so I'm assuming there would be a cost to me to purchase an ID card. What would that be? And can you kind of go through that real quick?
Yes. From my understanding, it was $25 for the cost of the card if you were going to pick it up originally. And then I want to say it was $33 if you're going to have it mailed to you. I'd like to keep that price point the same because I don't think it's fair if we change the price point for the people that have already paid or have done these things for their cards.
That makes sense to me.
Perfect.
So if I were to pick one up at the powwow, I would just bring a $25 check to the community or cash or whatever.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Dean Johnson?
There, I forgot to unmute. Verification of people getting these IDs. Say you got it to the powwow, that's normally a public event. What is stopping just some random person coming to the powwow paying $25 to get an ID?
We are going to keep an ID roll. Like we're going to keep our roll on hand, so whoever is running the ID card printer, you will physically have to check in, and we will be checking you off of the rolls list.
Thank you.
But I understand your concern, and that is where we have gotten with that.
I would add quickly that the old system was actually costing us money because what has emerged is it was so convoluted that people were getting ID cards, then their checks were never getting cashed.
Correct.
So some people paid and never got ID cards. Some people didn't actually pay and they got ID cards. And so this would, because of all the jumping around, and you send money here and we send money there, so this would simplify that process. So the money comes in, the card goes out. And as Dakota has mentioned, potentially we could use this machine as well if we need to print up ID badges for an event that we're doing. This can be used if we want to print up some kind of ID card for another business in the area, and they could contract that work with us. So there's some ways we could get the machine to pay for itself.
Correct.
And
Tim Johnson?
actually, Danielle, I just sent you a text message, but on Saturday, an envelope came in the mail and somebody was returning their ID card. So I'm not sure if that was a honorary member or whatever, but it's just the ID card in the envelope.
Okay.
Gotcha. Tim Johnson, your hand is raised.
Yeah, I agree that the system that was used, I'm going to say the last 3 months, because I think it was instituted while Steve was still vice chair, was convoluted. I never understood it, so I never sent my money and tried to get an ID card. So yes, absolutely needed to clean the process up. I just wanted to hear from you guys how this was going to work, compared to what we had before. Because even before, I think we had to flush the money through somebody in Mendota before it went to the card, and that really never made sense at all. So thank you.
We will have to take figure out who paid and how they paid already. I think Carol Craft, you had 2 checks when we went to the bank for ID cards, correct?
We had 2 physical checks, but a lot
So we
of
have
people have
Venmo.
paid via Venmo,
Yeah.
and that doesn't really create a paper trail.
We don't
as it
have
relates
records of that
to-
Venmo
yeah.
account to see
Yeah.
who actually paid the past person that money. So we
Right.
will have to go out and we will have to, see who has already paid, who wrote checks that were cashed, who wrote checks that weren't cashed. So we'll take care of all of that as well.
We do have a list of who got an ID.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Have that. So it's just those people that paid and did not receive that we have to track down.
Perfect.
Perfect. With that concept, we would be starting there, and then yes, we'll be bringing this to the powwow. If you come to the powwow and attend that, we'll be able to make your ID there. Another step that we are working.
We're getting the one that takes the picture too.
Yes.
So like if you don't need
Yes.
to bring a picture with you to powwow, we can take a picture of you there for your ID.
Absolutely. And then the next thing would be, hopefully when we are rebuilding out our website, there will be some type of ACH payment that you could do through there directly, where it's like, I'm paying my $25. We will see that and we can make it on the spot and then ship it out from there. So we are not having you send money through Venmo, which then gets transferred into the bank account, which then gets transferred to a third-party website, which then we have to figure out your mailing address to have the third-party website mail it out to you. That is too many steps. It should never have been that many steps, in my opinion. I think this is at least the easiest way that we have to do this currently.
Okay, and we've got a good web builder that will be able to handle that, correct?
Yes.
So I think Jay Titus will be handling the e-commerce end of things. So he can get and the security end of stuff, so he can get that set up. We're working on that. And then Brad will be handling the public facing side of things. So that's the
Correct.
other thing, is in order to order the ID order would be behind your login wall. You'd have to
Yes.
log in as a member, then you could order an ID. So we're not going to have like random third parties trying to order IDs from our website.
Correct. Okay, give me a sec so I can pull up the agenda again because I was looking at the printer. So now that we have discussed, is there any other discussion? Doesn't sound like it. All right. I am putting forward that we approve the purchase of the new ID card machine for the office resolution 29 if we want a specific price point on it, it is $1,099.99 as of right now.
And that includes an initial pack of the ribbons and the
Yes,
so many
it comes
couple
with
hundred cards.
300 cards and 300 print ribbons. So
I
for sure we
second.
can, perfect. Now that that's second, let's put a vote forward.
That's unanimous.
I was gonna,
Awesome.
I was gonna say why the vote's coming in. It's a unique concept that someone will actually be in the office every day.
Yeah, well, we're trying to move toward a system. We'd like to get a part-time office assistant at some point. In the meantime, I mean, I think we can also start a system of having elders volunteer to be in the office a few hours a day. So we'll kind of start getting that organized. The big thing has been getting the office like back into shape so that people can go to the office and it's not just boxes you're tripping over. But we'd like to make the office something that's like available to the community.
A functionable office.
Yeah.
And I want to say thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
It actually is a very, very nice office with several private rooms, but it is filled with a lot of stuff right now that those people that are going through that appreciate all that work that they're going through to organize it.
Absolutely. That was the last thing I have for new business. Before we adjourn, seeing as how we're actually running 30 minutes early, does anyone like to like to discuss anything? Is there any topics of discussion? Patrick, go ahead.
Yeah, Dakota, just a quick note. I've been a member of the community for just a few years now, and I met or did know the former councilwoman Sharon, and don't really have an opinion on what happened or what didn't happen with that incident. However, her minutes and the meetings that I did attend were nothing like what we're having right now and experiencing right now. I'm very impressed with the way you guys are developing this council, the professionalism, and the way the minutes are being put out.
Wopida, I appreciate that. I mean, honestly, I've done very little. In my opinion, in my personal opinion, is that this is a team effort and the team has been doing a really great job. And so has all of our members. Like a lot of people have stepped forward, stepped up to, help this community because it is our community. And so I'm really appreciative to all of you guys. Renee Johnson.
One of the things that we've had some discussion on with the changes to the Constitution is that, and Greg, I know you can back me up on this, that we'd like to remove the historian role from the tribal council. And what we would like to do is put in place a parliamentarian position. So that would be somebody who could help make sure we're following the proper Robert Rules of Order, and also, guide the tribal council on the proper procedure and maybe verifying, is this in compliance with our Constitution and bylaws? So if that's something that somebody might be interested in holding that position, contact me, talk to me about it. I think that role is going to be vital to the tribal council. So I just wanted to kind of get people thinking about that now.
Oh, Whoopita. Greg, your hand was up. Your hand went down.
Yeah, I kind of forgot what I was going to say.
That's fair.
Oh, I know. It was in regard to being a member of the community. I want to say all of you were members of the community from your birth.
Absolutely.
it just formalized your enrollment, okay, which we have to do for the federal government, you know? So trust me, yous are always in this community from birth.
I'd like to second what Greg said. Everyone here was born Dakota. Now we're like trying to formalize what a tribe looks like for the Mendota Dakota, which has also always been here. But like at a base point, everyone in here was born Dakota. There's no changing that. There's no discussion on that because that just is a fact of life. Your ancestors are Dakota, just like your ancestors are other things. Mine are Dakota and Irish and French and a whole bunch of other things, but that is part of it. And whether you were just becoming a member, this is your first meeting, or you have been here since, 96, the first go around, or even earlier than that, this is an inherent birthright. As a Dakota person, as someone whose family was in Mendota, which is why you're here and on the rolls, this is a birthright, and these are birthrights to you. The language is a birthright that was stolen. Land was a birthright that is stolen. Community was a birthright that has been historically stolen from our people. So,
No.
with that, does anyone have anything else?
I had one question, one thing to add. I found the brochure. We submitted, tried to create a charter school in 2007, and we submitted to the state. And I found the whole booklet, which has the subjects and all the other information goes with it. And that might be helpful in the future for you.
That would be wonderful, Jim. If you want to send that to me or Danielle, or we can figure out a time I can come pick it up from you.
Or you can pick it up when you're here on the 30th.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you're, it was called Wakanye Zapi, which is Sacred Little Ones.
Oh.
Never got approved, but we tried.
Perfect. All right. Last call for any comments or topics of discussion before, we adjourn. All right. It looks like we are ready to adjourn. I put a motion forward that we adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Perfect. Does anyone, all for adjourning? How?
No.
Oh.
Won't be done.
Ooh. Anyone opposed to adjourning? Doesn't sound like it. Awesome. All right. Whoopida to everyone for being here. Whoopida for our new members here that this is their first jump into this tribe. Welcome. If anyone has any comments, questions, concerns, or wants to talk about literally anything, I check my chair email multiple times a day. So, shoot me a message. I like talking to our members. That's something I really enjoy. So with
Happy
that,
Father's Day to everybody. But happy Father's Day to everybody.
yes.
Yes.
With that, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Oh.
Bye-bye.